Hello and welcome to another Digital Naked Faith. This is our worship service for October 2020 and it's our first Naked Faith of this school year. We've taken the summer off to refresh and get our creative juices flowing, and we're excited to be back with you and share what we've created with you. Before we get started, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We're excited to have you with us. My name is Andrew, and I'm going to kick it over to my co-host Josh to tell you a little bit about Naked Faith and what it is.
Naked Faith is an alternative worship service aimed at youth and young adults. However, all are welcome to participate.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy this service we've prepared for you. And let's kick things off with a brand new version of Divide by the Naked Faith Band.
Time when kindness was front and center mass. We can wrestle with our differences on high. We will struggle and together find the light. Breathe and grab a hand. Grace when you arrive. Sing and find your voice. Let's make the darkness divide. Find your voice. Find your weekend. Find your weekend. Find your voice. Together we'll shine. And find your weekend. We'll find our weekend.
Here, now, nowhere else to be.
you arrive. Sing and find your voice. Let's make the darkness divide. Breathe and grab a hand. Grace when you arrive. Sing and find your voice. Let's make the darkness divide. Find your voice. Find our weekend. Find our weekend. Find your voice. Together we'll shine. And find our weekend. Find our weekend.
So our theme this month is adapt, and it's related to the massive changes that we've all had to go through over the last few months. We are naturally creatures of habit. We crave structure and routine, predictability. It helps us stay constant, remain stable. And so with all of these unpredictable changes that we've gone through, it leads to a sense of instability. Grief follows loss, but can also be relevant to any change in our lives, positive or negative. Having to adapt to significant changes takes a toll on us because we no longer know what to predict. Predictability and structure is soothing to our minds, especially stressed out minds. This year is full of unpredictability and also full of loss. Loss of the way life was, loss of certain relationships in person, maybe loss of big events like weddings, or for us, camp, doing Naked Faith in person. So we want to start this year of Naked Faith off by talking about how do we adapt to that change, knowing that it takes a toll on us, knowing that it's not easy for us to cope with. How do we adapt to that? How do we adapt to the loss that we've all had to endure? How do we adapt to a world that is fundamentally different from the one we knew 8 months ago? Everyone adapts differently, but our ability to be flexible and malleable helps us weather the storms of life. Regardless of your specific ways of adaptability, it's important to take a moment to pause, to reflect, and think about how do you do that. We cannot put life on pause. So the first thing we want to reflect on is generally how do you adapt to change and to start really applying this label of grief. It's something that was talked about a lot when the pandemic first began, but I think it's relevant to keep coming up. When we grieve a person that we've lost, some of the most difficult times are milestones, holidays, those significant events that remind us of what we have lost. And I think this is a piece of what we're going to keep going through. The start of school, Thanksgiving, Christmas. These are times when we are really reminded of the things that have changed and that are different. And so sometimes just even being able to know it as grief, to process it in a different way, is a helpful starting point. It helps us get unstuck.
As 2020 continues to unfold, we are trying to get back to our lives, or what we would call our normal lives. But what does normal mean? We're having to redefine the whole idea of normal. And in considering what is normal, we keep coming back to this question of what does it mean in times like these to thrive rather than just survive? What are the differences? Well, from a Darwinist perspective, it would be said that it's survival of the fittest, and that those who are cut out to survive will, and that's all. And the ones who will make it out will be stronger, and they'll be the ones to adapt. However, survival of the fittest is just that. It's just survival. It's the bare minimum. It's scraping by. And survival implies that one species overcomes while the other fails. It implies competition. In times like these, we need not be in competition with each other. Humans, in all of our individualities, our differences, our quirks, we all share an incredible sameness, which is being human. In times like these, I think it's important to remember that oneness, that togetherness that we share just through our existence, right here, right now. If 2020 has revealed anything to me, it's that despite being distanced socially, emotionally, we are so much stronger when we are united. So when I think of the question, what does it mean to thrive rather than survive? I believe that a step in the right direction is to choose compassion over competition.
I think that the Serenity Prayer holds great wisdom for us, in that it reminds us to accept the things that we cannot change and have the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference between those. An ability to adapt to significant change is encompassed within this prayer. We have to learn to accept that many things are out of our control. We are learning to accept the unpredictability of these times. It's one of the hardest things we can learn how to do, and yet maybe one of the most important things to practice. The more we try to fight it, deny it, say it shouldn't be this way, sometimes the more it actually hurts. And at the same time, acceptance isn't enough. We also need to take control of the things that we do have power over, the things that we are able to change, even if it's a small piece. We get creative with events like Naked Faith. We advocate and stand up for causes in ways that we are able to. Changing even the smallest pieces can help us feel like we're just a little bit more in control of our path, in control of our destiny, while at the same time practicing acceptance of all the things that we cannot change and cannot control. This balance, along with our ability to stand firm in community, I believe are our greatest assets in adapting to the world that we're in right now.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
You say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Judy here.
My name is Mira, longtime Naked Faith fan.
Who's that?
My name is Richard Betts.
Hi, my name is Andrew Miller.
My name is Vern Lachinsky.
My name is Bernice Lachinsky.
My name is Karen Palmer.
I think everybody's life has changed this year.
Due to this little thing we like to call the pandemic. I don't know if you've heard of it.
This time of pandemic has been a full 360 for me.
My wife and I like to travel a lot.
We haven't been able to go where we planned to go.
This year, not so much.
I work in essential services, so I was out and about almost every day.
Couldn't have Easter, couldn't have Thanksgiving with family.
And we miss our time with our friends.
We're just not used to that at all. We're fairly social.
How am I adapting? Pretty well, actually.
In fact, nothing will be the same.
Things change within the week, within the day.
It made us realize that we took a lot for granted.
But still, we were able to celebrate birthdays and new arrivals and weddings.
I got to spend a lot of quality time with this gal right here.
And I've been teaching myself to play the ukulele. It's pretty hard to be melancholy when you're playing the uke.
We were lucky enough to have really, really nice weather, to go for walks and stuff and bike rides, so that kept our minds clear.
I get to spend more time cycling in the foothills and the mountains. I've spent more time walking in the neighborhood or simply watching the children playing in the streets.
I've become heavily involved in the production of our online church services. Helping our communities of faith stay connected in these difficult times has been a joy and a calling.
Nothing quite like the apocalypse to make you kind of re-examine your priorities and who you want to be spending your time with. One of the big changes I knew I needed to make was to move back to Calgary to be closer to my family.
All in all, it's been different than than we certainly expected and anticipated. So
It's perhaps hard to see where God is in the current confusion and uncertainty.
I think that this time of pandemic is God's way of telling me, of telling all of us to slow down, to pause, to re-examine what is good and important in our lives.
At the same time, God was with us to remind us that not everybody has the freedoms and the choices that we have every day.
It really is all about how we adapt, how we learn, and how we contribute, and how we help each other.
So it gave me some time to connect with that little godlike voice inside of me, the little intuitive voice that knows what's best for me. Boy, did it have a lot to say.
We are very blessed. Like, God has just looked after us.
Another one was how people did keep in contact. We thought of new ways. We were cut off, isolated, and the first thing that we wanted was to get back together.
I have gained a whole new appreciation for my family, and I feel so blessed to be able to live in this city and this country.
I definitely wish that a lot of these changes and that me being able to connect with that voice was under different circumstances, but I'm really glad that I was able to kind of roll with it, and that God was able to intervene in my life in the way that he did.
but I think God has given us a really good perspective and thankfulness that has helped us to have a new perspective, which is going to benefit us and our family down the road.
Be safe, everyone, and be as happy as you can.
God bless.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening.
Consider yourself well hugged until we can physically meet again. Bye.
So I'll just leave it there.
I invite us into a time of prayer. Let us pray. Ever-present God, we give thanks for this community and for the strength we gain from this community. We are grateful to be able to feel the presence of the divine that is a part of every one of us and all of creation. In this ever-changing world, we give thanks for that which helps us endure and persevere. We lament the ongoing pandemic and all the challenges it brings, from lack of physical touch to the voids left in our lives due to physical distancing. We feel your presence in the love and care of others, and we give thanks for wise and comforting words that help us adapt and change. For people, animals, and nature that give us peace and help us back to a feeling of contentment amidst chaos and lack of control. During this time of prayer, we lift up those thanks, and for me, I give thanks to Todd, Kurt, Evangeline, my sibling and her family, my parents, our cats Greywind and Jeremy, our crazy puppies Narya and Elemenope, the wind that rustles through the trees, the water that flows in rivers, and the flowers that were gifted to me at Thanksgiving. I invite us now into a short time of silence where you too can lift up that which sustains you through times of upheaval and change, helping you to adapt and persevere. We know you hear all our prayers, comforting God, and for that we give the utmost thanks. Amen.
You hold the reins on the sun and the moon like horses horses driven by kings. You cover the mountains, the valleys below, breadth of your mighty wings. All treasures of wisdom and things to be known are hidden inside your hand. In this fortunate turn of events, you ask me to be your friend. You ask me to be your friends. And you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my past. Yeah, you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my past. Constellations are swimming inside the breadth of your desire. Where could I run? Where could I hide from your heart's jealous fire? All treasures of wisdom and things to be known are hidden inside your hand. In this fortunate turn of events, you ask me to be your friend. You ask me to be your friend. Oh, and you are my
So in wrapping up, we hope that you can reflect on some of these pieces that we've offered today. Reflect on the pieces that you've lost, the pieces that you're grieving. Use that idea of grief to help you get unstuck from the hurt and the pain and move forward into figuring out, how do you adapt to these changes? How have you been adapting? Have there been positive ways you've been adapting? And maybe have there been ways you want to take a second look at? Really think about this idea of how do you thrive instead of just survive when faced with trying times. I think this is relevant now, but it's relevant in many different times in our lives too. This isn't the only time we're going to be faced with adversity. There are many other struggles happening in the world despite just the pandemic as well. And so we want to keep this idea in mind. How do we thrive? And a big piece of that always comes back to this community, being able to stand firm with each other through all of these difficulties. Thanks everybody who made this video possible this month. Thanks to Josh, my co-host, of course. Thanks to the Naked Faith Band. Thanks to Joanna for filming. Thanks to Leanne for making the 0 to 100 video. Thank you to Brenda for being my partner in crime behind the scenes. And even though I already thanked her once, thanks to Joanna for being my wife. We hope you stay safe, stay well, and we're looking forward to seeing you next month. If you're watching this live on YouTube, please join us on Instagram Live at Naked Faith Worship, where Josh and I will get into all sorts of shenanigans. Do you think that's good?